go ahead and get started. Thank you all for coming. My name is Marissa. Thank you for joining us for the third presentation today at Visions, Access for All, How an ADA Transition Plan is Transforming Ann Arbor Parks and Recreation. And we are so very pleased to have LJ Orta here, who is the Director of Organizational Equity. So over the past 3 years, Ann Arbor Parks and Recreation has developed, adopted, and begun implementing an Americans with Disabilities Act ADA Transition Plan, a comprehensive commitment to accessibility for all. What started as a small project assessing a handful of parks expanded into a citywide initiative evaluating all city parks, nature areas, and facilities for physical and programmatic barriers. This effort led to a $19 million 30-year commitment, the hiring of the City of Ann Arbor's first accessibility coordinator, and a renewed focus on ensuring accessibility is prioritized in every project. This discussion will take you through the journey from development to implementation, offering insights for those considering their own ADA transition plan and anyone interested in the future of accessibility in the Ann Arbor Parks. So we are very excited to welcome LJ, the Director of Organizational Equity. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's lovely to see you all here today. Full transparency, again, I am the Director of Organizational Equity. I do not work directly in parks. The individual, Adam Fercho, who was supposed to be here speaking as the expert, has been struggling with some health issues and had to bow out yesterday. And so I am going to do my best to fill in his expertise shoes, but I'm excited. So I want to say happy Pride to everyone, and thank you again for being here. Full government transparency. My mouth gets super dry when I talk, so I'll be chewing on candy. You'll hear me. My apologies. And I'll be drinking a lot of water as I go through. So Ann Arbor Parks and Recreation ADA Transition Plan. We imagine a city where every sidewalk, building, and public space is accessible to everyone, regardless of ability. That vision is becoming a reality through the ADA Transition Plan, specifically through our Parks and Recreation. Today, let's go on Ann Arbor's multi-year journey from bold planning to real-world implementation, sharing key lessons, strategies, and what the future of accessibility looks like for our community. Our agenda today is some introductions, the background of the ADA transition plan here for Parks and Rec at the city, the procurement process, because that's super interesting to those of us that are government nerds, the ADA transition development, the plan implementation, and then I'll do my best to field your questions and probably do a lot of directing to contact parks. Again, my name is LJ or Laura Orta. My pronouns are they, him, and here. I'm the Director of Organizational Equity, where at OOE, our catchphrase is equity belongs everywhere. And Adam Fercho, his pronouns are he, him. He is the landscape architect and capital project manager, and all props go out to him for giving me this great outline to work from. On the screen right now is a really hard to see for anyone who is fully sighted or has any vision problems whatsoever. My apologies. It's what the city's map downloaded on here. Again, I'm working from some slides, but this is what is kind of at the bottom of the slide. It says Ann Arbor Parks and Rec Asset Management Plan, A2 Parks Overview. So this is a snapshot of the city boundaries and our 160 plus parks and nature areas. So trying to put 160, I believe 3 parks on a PowerPoint slide and then say that we have 81 playgrounds and 31 tennis pickleball courts, swimming, canoeing, kayaking, disc golf, dirt bike jumping, hiking, volunteering, tennis, ice skating, I already said pickleball. 4 pools, 3 dog parks, 2 water slides, 2 canoe liveries, 2 golf courses, 2 ice arenas, the senior center, the farmer's market, a nature center, and a skate park. All of that is on this slide. So that was a lot of words, and so it was really hard to have a really good map there. You can use, which we will get to in a moment here, there is a GIS locator on the city's parks website where you can kind of focus in a little better onto what park you're looking for and looking to go to through our wonderful city's website. So this is comparison data for City of Ann Arbor's parks. Compared to US cities of similar size, Ann Arbor has 4 times more trails, 3 times more acres of land, 2 times more parks. 92% of our residents live within a 10-minute walk or travelability to a park, and there are 2,210 acres of parkland. And on this slide is the link to the GIS map Ann Arbor. I was just speaking about how if you go to the City of Ann Arbor or annarbora2.org, our main webpage has a little bot on it now, to help us, the AI tools, where you can say the transition plan, the ADA transition plan parks, and it will take you to their main webpage. It will help you walk through things. Our IT is doing a wonderful job of trying to keep up with our accessibility needs and listening to you as community members for what you need. So what is a transition plan? This is just a transition plan. A transition plan is a structured document, and it's used to communicate ongoing projects, duties and responsibilities. So who's responsible for what? It tells us deadlines, it tells us key contacts, and who the stakeholders might be, and important resources. And the purpose of a transition plan would be to provide a framework for the transferring of knowledge, to minimize disruption in work, and clearly outlining tasks. It supports training in an organization. So think about all the organizational changes that you have with promotions, departures, relocations, new hires. You create transition plans so that your big projects that just run consistently have those duties, responsibilities, deadlines, the key contacts. It's kind of those historical documents there. That's why you create one and should have one. So what is an ADA, or an Americans with Disabilities Act transition plan, and what is it for Parks and Rec? I highlighted 5 key areas. So the ADA transition plan, it's a structured document, of course, used to communicate the responsibilities, all the things that we just talked about. But the 5 key things that an ADA transition plan for Parks and Rec has is community engagement. That was the most important part of the ADA plan for the City of Ann Arbor for Parks and Rec. To identify barriers. Program accessibility, that's where they're working towards, where we are working towards. Prioritizing and scheduling the different, making the accessibility of the different parks and staff training. Implementation of those accessibility areas, and monitoring to make sure that the accessibility of those areas is upkept. So laying the groundwork for accessibility. We're proud of our dedicated staff at parks. They care deeply about parks, the community, and ensuring that everyone feels welcome. Their commitment is at the heart of the progress towards accessibility. I mean that down to my bones. But like many cities, we started with gaps and questions. We didn't have an established ADA plan. We had no standard processes for fixing any type of barriers. We had no grievance procedure in place. We were unclear about where we were out of compliance and where we were in compliance. We had a limited accessibility knowledge base, and we had no system for tracking completed work. That was the starting point. We kind of knew we knew nothing, and that was the launch pad for this more inclusive future. So getting started with the ADA transition plan. In March of 2021, the Parks and Rec Department released a RFP, which stands for Request for Proposal, for ADA compliance assessment and transition plans for the assessment of only 33 of our over 160 parks, nature areas, and recreation centers. The staff was then going to do the rest of the assessment of the remaining 130 parks, nature areas, and recreation centers. And the city would not be undertaking any electronic website accessibility or programmatic accessibility evaluations related to parks as part of that project. So that was the original in 2021. They released a request for proposals for someone to do a ADA transition plan for 33 parks and train the staff to do the rest of the 130 and do nothing with the website at all related to Parks and Rec. Going to go back to what is an ADA transition plan for Parks and Rec. The important things: community engagement, identify barriers, program accessibility, prioritizing and scheduling training, and implementation and monitoring. Because now I'm going to go through, that was a 1 through 5, so I'll call out number 1, community engagement. So we did that RFP, and then we engaged the community with webinars, in-person meetings here and at other locations of our great Ann Arbor district libraries, surveys, push-pin maps, the Park Advisory Committee, or PAC, and our Commission on Disability Issues, or CODI. One of the things that they did that was really amazing is we asked community members to take photos of where they ran into accessibility barriers and issues. And they collected all of those as part of the information that they gathered. Number 2, identifying their barriers and physical assessments of the 160 plus parks. They used GIS data, so they mapped where they were according to the photos that were sent in, according to those pushpin datas, according to the background information. And the consultant team spent 3 to 4 weeks in the city, performing evaluations, and then they came in additionally weekly, monthly, helping to look at the assessment of the plan and conceptualize it. So number 3, our programs, services, and activities, which they call their PSAs. So we're thinking in parks and rec land again. So think of their programs, their services and activities. All of the city staff over those areas, they met in groups with our consultant that was hired to review all the programs, all the services and activities. Right now it's big camp season, right? We have lots of different camps going on. So all of those staff met and said, what accessibility needs do we have here? What don't we know? What do we need to know? Every PSA, or program, service, and activity, was discussed. What is it? Where is it held? Is it virtual? Is it in person? What forms and materials are being used? And how is the information being accessed? Then a draft report was done, so this is part of prioritizing and scheduling. The findings were reviewed, the PSA checklists were done, the facilities were prioritized, there was city commitment to it, all the different departments within Parks and Rec, so we talked about they have a nature area, so NAP, the different departments within Parks and Rec reviewed it. They presented it to PAC, which is their commission, and then City Council approved it. And then there was staff training. There was 10 vendor-led training sessions that were recorded and are kept online for staff that are hired on new to take. Staff concerns during the training were openly addressed. Collaborative departments such as OOE and legal participated in these trainings, and there was ongoing training through the city's LMS, and still is, which is a learning management system around ADA guidelines. So there's implementation and monitoring around these physical barriers. 2,000 barriers have been identified over the park system. 163 parks, 2,000 barriers identified. Each barrier identified has a geo coordinate, so it's got that, we can map it through those fancy online coordinates with GIS, locating things on a map. It's got a finding ID. It has a finding description. It has an ADA citation. It has those lovely photos of conditions. It has a detailed drawing with applicable tables, charts, and graphs, and estimated costs of correction. Now, every year we have to go back and re-estimate our costs because in 2025, we've had some real changes in our costs, right? Tariffs. Tariffs have made an impact on what our estimates of cost were in late 2024. So we are always having to go back and pay attention to these type of things. So this is implementation and monitoring, and this is physical barriers more than any other type of barriers that were identified. So every existing PSA, which is those programs, service, and activities, were reviewed and evaluated for barriers and requirements. So this was pushing us past just the physical, ensuring that there were accessible locations, ensuring that there was alternative format to communications. Not just in English, not just written, printable. How is the information about the program or the service or the activity communicated? And to make sure our service animal guidelines are available. And to develop a checklist to review when any new program, service, or activity is created so that we are aligning everything that we do with these checklists. We're also doing that in website materials, in our engagement materials, always understanding the importance of ensuring that communication is accessible. And if you recall, when I spoke about it in the beginning, that was not part of the original request for proposal, that there was not going to be anything to do with websites or communication materials. But as they did the assessments, that quickly became important. So as part of the implementation and monitoring, the funding and time frame for this, when we received the sign-off from City Council, which was for the current fiscal year we're in, which is fiscal year 25, ends June 30th. So our fiscal years start on July 1 and go through June 30th. So we're in our first fiscal year, first year of this plan. It was a $19 million estimate for 30 years. That was the cost to correct all barriers found from 2022. The estimate was 12% of the construction costs were to design. Project management was 18%, and then a contingency was 5%, and then all other costs, I'm assuming, because I'm speaking for Adam here, were related to all the other things that you get with construction, probably materials, right, and hours related to that. This is a 30-year time frame. It's very frustrating for the community that wants to get out and engage in the parks, right? As I said in the beginning, they acknowledged they did not have a plan. They knew things were needed. They know that this is happening. Why isn't it happening fast? Because 30 years is self-determined and suggested by the vendor under the capacity of resources that we have, and it's realistic, but progress is recorded annually. There will be an annual report this year to the city, to City Council. It will be made public to the community. related to what has been done. So when you think about, well, wait, are they saying, let's just do this one path here and put $1 million in over there? No. What's happening is they have this huge Excel file, but not really an Excel file, but think about it where all the parks are listed on down, maybe on the left-hand side or across the top, however works best for things that you would set up. And then what are things that are needed? In some places, what needed to happen was the toilet paper dispenser was too far away from the toilet seat. Okay, that's an accessibility issue. And that needed to be moved. So that's part of those numbers that were recorded. Well, if we're in the restroom and painting it or doing some type of small renovation already, that is going to be taken care of. It's not going to wait until 2035, because that's when we're in that park doing that one thing, doing, the accessibility things in that park. We're trying to do this in a way that makes the most sense and utilize our resources and monies as best as possible, but also make the biggest impact that we can. And that's a whole lot of moving parts to try to do at once. So again, with implementation and monitoring. During transition plan development, the city administrator hired an accessibility coordinator. That accessibility coordinator is housed in the Office of Org Equity, or OOE, to lend expertise. That was one of the recommendations that came out from the vendor of the request for coming out and doing this assessment, is the city needed an accessibility coordinator. Parks and Rec went that extra step and created an ADA departmental liaison who handles inquiries and works closely with our accessibility coordinator to ensure the ADA transition plan is being followed and updated, and any accessibility questions or topics that arise are handled by someone that's in parks and can speak to how parks addresses things, and has our expertise of our accessibility coordinator there to assist them. And I've had people ask me when they said, oh, you're the speaker today, what's happening? And so I wanted to make sure I asked Adam, please give me some of the things that are happening or have happened so that I can show some of the great work, except talking about toilet paper rolls, because I know about the toilet paper rolls. In 2022, the Argo Cascades Universal Access Project, and this one is completed. So that project started prior to the completion, and actually even the beginning, it started, of the whole ADA transition plan and assessment. And it's largely successful. It actually is very successful, but they thought they had completed it, and they were in the middle of the ADA transition plan, and they had the vendor who goes by the name Chewy, and is just a wonderful individual to work with. And he came by and he was like, oh, yeah, you did you did a really good job trying. So now let's address these issues. And he was able to identify some key barriers before completion that Parks was then able to address and put the monies towards, so that the Argo Cascades Universal Access Project meets all of the accessibility needs and was completed in a way that ties right into the ADA transition plan before it even got put on the ADA transition. So that was them seeing what they were doing and putting it to work before things were even written down on paper. So in 2024, the Barton Nature Area border-to-border trail segment, which is completed, is a new half-mile paved trail that now runs through the heart of Barton Nature Area. It's allowing an accessible route into the loved nature area. It's over the 30-year plan horizon of our accessibility plan, NAP, so that's our, nature arm of our Parks and Rec, aims to make 15 to 20% of the city's natural areas ADA compliant. And this project is a strong early step. So we're taking areas that were not accessible, could not be easily used by individuals who might be wheelchair users, who might have alternative to needs on, grading issues when it comes to ground, vision, all types of different ways. And NAP is aiming 15 to 20% of that to now be accessible, which is amazing because when I started, that was a really big question. We have a lot of wonderful people here in the community who want to volunteer at NAP, and they can't because they have accessibility needs before they can volunteer, that we can't have them volunteer at NAP because we can't meet those accessibility needs. And that is that's a loss on everyone's part. And we do not like to have that anywhere in the city. In 2025, the Bicentennial Park Improvement Project, which is currently under construction, in celebration of the city's bicentennial, which just passed in 2024. This major renovation includes Ann Arbor's first universally accessible splash pad and a fully accessible playground. I have been to other cities, I have grandchildren in other states where we've been to the accessible splash pads, accessible playgrounds. They're amazing. They draw people from miles and miles around. And if this is the first accessible one in this area, which it really is, we're going to see a lot of individuals coming in to use this. The restroom, the sidewalk, and parking improvements are also going to happen, and they're going to address nearly all ADA barriers identified in the transition plan. In 2025, the Almendinger Playground accessibility improvements. And these are also under construction. This project is set to finish this summer. It includes a new paved entrance loop with barrier-free parking, accessible pathways around the park features, as well as ADA-compliant picnic tables, grills, and bleachers. So those are two in 2025, our Bicentennial Park Improvement Project and Almendinger Playground accessibility improvements. They're under construction currently. And then looking forward into 26-27, the Burr Park Ice Arena and pool improvements. This currently is in the design phase. This is funded by a land and water conservation grant. So the $1 million a year right now is funded by the taxpayers of the City of Ann Arbor. All the extras that we get to do extra things come from grants. Some of the Bicentennial Park improvements came from grants or monies donated through the state. So, we certainly are out there trying to get extra money to accelerate these plans, to do more in this plan. But this one is funded by a land and water conservation grant. This project includes upgrades to mechanical systems and accessibility improvements. One notable feature, the rink board modification to allow barrier-free entry onto the ice. This project showcases how we're integrating ADA improvements into the broader infrastructure work. Right? We're not just thinking about being able to be out on a playground or in NAP, but we're looking at everything so that everyone can participate in everything within the city park and rec system. So the key takeaways that Adam wanted to make sure that you had. At the outset, the project felt very straightforward. 30 parks the vendor was going to teach us how to do, and then 130 the staff was going to do. We weren't going to mess around with communications or any of that online website stuff, but it quickly revealed its complexity and depth, mostly because of our constituents saying we need more, and our staff going out and saying we need more. Staff were highly engaged, and that should actually be staff are highly engaged. Though initially hesitant, he says, and they were initially hesitant because they were concerned they might be, quote unquote, doing something wrong. Right? The hesitation of able-bodied individuals having to learn about, not having to, but at their first experience of learning about, dealing and working with and engaging with the disability community, we all know that that is a hesitation. And the park staff quickly rose to the I'm hesitant. They were honest and open with us about where they were and where the fears were. And their biggest fear was that they weren't going to do enough. Right? That was their biggest fear in any of the trainings that I worked with them on. The staff training was crucial in building their confidence and providing them with clear guidelines. And we get a call at least once a week about, this has happened, what could we do better next time at the OOE? Community engagement proved incredibly valuable. As always here in the City of Ann Arbor, that's the wonderful thing about the City of Ann Arbor, our community engagement. Not only for transparency, but for building public support. Our consultant emphasized the importance of having community members as advocates rather than opponents. That would be true with any kind of government mission, right? You do not want to have your community members as opponents. Then you're not doing what the people want as a whole. The ADA transition plan provides a roadmap. It is not a set in stone, it is a roadmap. And it, as I said before, it is not an immediate overhaul. We wish we had $30 to $40 million, which would probably have to be a plus to bring in all the people to immediately then go do all the things that are needed, but we don't. It shows accountability and intention, allowing us to make progress over time instead of facing sudden legal mandates. And that piece right there, facing the sudden legal mandates, there have been other cities who have not bothered to even consider doing ADA plans in their parks, and they have faced some sudden, expensive legal mandates from the federal government. Colorado, a couple of their cities out there, faced some very severe sudden legal mandates, and they spent more money having to quickly line up with the things that they had just let go rather than looking at what needed to get done and address the needs. Tracking Parks and Rec's progress is a key component of this approach. And again, they are preparing their first year report, and it will be, once it is available, it will be available to the public through the Parks and Rec website. I will make sure that our office links it through our external webpage as well. This is my final slide page. It's thank you. On it, I have the emails for Parks and Rec. I have the email for Josh Landfield, who is the head person over there. His email address is JLANDEFELD. I can do that slowly. That's JLANDEFELD. And all of these are going to end at a2gov.org. And then Adam Fercho, who should be standing in my place right now. A Fercho, AFERCHO. And then to reach my office, and you will get my amazing team, you just email ooe@a2gov.org. What questions might I be able to answer for you right now, if any? And take us back to the beginning. Go ahead. Oh, right up here in the front.
So my question is, they identified 2,000 areas of need, but that was 5-6 years ago. There are more eyes on it, there are more people out there. What are they doing to identify the new things that come up, and how are they incorporating those new findings, or are they not looking at all?
Yes, it would be an ask Adam. I would say that the transition plan itself identified those, and those were incorporated into it because we had to have, this is what we're going to address. But as things come up, I would imagine that they would be weaved in, but I can't say for sure that they are. So I don't want to say, yes, of course they are, and not, speak out of turn for them. So, absolutely. Yes, but if it's woven in a way where it's already an area that we're addressing, it just needs a little tweak. So. No, we do not currently. The University of Michigan and the City of Ann Arbor have their own unique relationship, and that's something that I would recommend you reach out to the city administrator, Mr. Dahoney, and ask him about. Yeah, the University of Michigan is always a welcome partner, and they always look to do things with us, but I can't speak to what they do and do not do. That's way above my pay grade. Oh, yeah, that would be. Yeah.
In Ann Arbor, that would be so nice.
Go ahead.
I'm also wondering if the slide presentation that was today, if it will be available on the website and in an accessible format, so that if somebody, say, has a screen reader or whatnot, they'd be able to go back and refresh themselves on this.
It will absolutely be available on the OOE website, and I will send it to Parks and ask them to put it up. It is in accessible format already. I made sure of that before I did it. So.
Nice.
But yes, I'll make sure that they get it.
I'm just thinking about the main body of your audience today.
Nope. I was very, very aware of that and tried to be very cognizant of everything that I did. Thank you.
Hello, and thank you so much, Laura, for this wonderful, amazing presentation, and for all this very informative information, and thank you to Parks and Rec for all their hard work as well. I just wanted to kind of piggyback or reiterate a point that one of the audience members made too. I know you said that this plan is going to take 30 years, so hopefully a lot of this is like fluid, because a lot is going to change in 30 years in terms of the updates or to the other barriers that are going to happen. Facilities that might be fine now, 30 years from now, may need updating. So I'm just curious, are all of you kind of aware of that? And the fact that,
Nothing ever changes ever.
Yeah.
I would make the guess that they are aware, and there is that flex built in, that they have these things that are identified. We never know when we're going to get a flood, and it's going to wash something out that needs addressing. So I, again, would think that they are and hope that they are, but I would encourage you to reach out and ask. Adam would be my person that I would send you to for that flex, and how often are they going to review it, and say, hey, bring the community in every X amount of years, look this over. So thank you. Anyone else? Well, thank you for your participation and your attendance and attention. Appreciate it.